Hey guys, Omni here. So I saw M. Night Shyamalan's film Old, which is in theaters right now, and this is written, directed, and produced by the man himself. But it's also inspired by a Swiss graphic novel known as Sandcastle, which I didn't know until after this and researching this. Now I'm not going to go into the spiel of talking about who all stars in this, because honestly there is a thick cast in here. There's a lot of people, and sometimes they're rotated in and out, and for reasons which you can probably get from the trailer itself. So this is a lot of names. I'm not going through all the names. I don't feel like there's any standout performances in this. So I think the closest one I could give to like a decent performance, I think, is Alex Wolff. And he does an okay job. I feel like this script suffers from pretty much the same thing that most of M. Night Shyamalan scripts do, and it's just like unnatural dialogue. And it doesn't feel like, and I don't know how he works on set, just from Alex Wolff's talk here recently, just about working on the film, that they are, between working with Ari Aster and him, they very much have their idea in mind, and they are very precise in what they want. So I have to imagine there's probably not enough wiggle room for feedback or improv or anything that would make the dialogue a little more natural. As the premise itself, a family goes on vacation to this island resort. I assume it's an island. And they get wind of a secret beach, a secret little outcrop that they might be able to have all to their own. But some weird shenanigans start to happen there while they end up trapped, and things go awry, things go out of control. They're also not the only ones that found this location as well. So they're there with a cast and crew of different characters, and they are trapped on this beach. While there, literally time is now their enemy. Time's passing at an exponential rate. People are aging, and they're trying to figure out how can they get off this beach? Why is this happening? How is this happening? And that's pretty much the premise of the film. So with that in mind, a lot of these characters don't get very developed. They are pretty much just boiled down to their character traits. Like you could imagine from Lady in the Water, you saw that with a lot of the cast in that. They were just their quirk or their occupation, or just whatever they're like one thing. There's no three-dimensional characters in this whatsoever. So like a lot of the characters constantly remind you who they are and what they do when it doesn't matter at all. Like there's so much talking at you for a film that is about this slow progression, or well, not slow, but this quickening progression of aging. There's a lot of drawn out and unnecessary exposition. Like the film thinks you're stupid. Like I gotta say, like it's written like you can't remember what happened earlier in the film. You have to be constantly reminded of these characters and their job and what their skill set may or may not be, what's going on. And it's just like, it's really hard. And I feel like I know a lot of this cast. I've seen them in other things, like some of the people that make appearances in here, and they've never been this stunted, man. And I think it's gotta be the writing itself and M. Night Shyamalan's vision. Oddly enough, as we know, with every M. Night Shyamalan film, he has to cameo within his movie. And I will say that his little role in this, for the lines that he's got in this and his what he does in here, is probably his best cameo yet. It's honestly, for what little we see him, was some of his best line delivery that I've seen in any of his films. And I was like, holy shit, I'm kind of impressed by that. The premise is actually really interesting. And for something that's talking about this, in time is just passing at an exponential rate. You are aging uncontrollably here on this island. The film it was shorter than Snake Eyes, which I reviewed yesterday, but it's felt longer. Like this felt like it took forever to get going. There's a lot of time where they linger on the investigation process, and it's just a lot of going nowhere. The setup, the beginning, the act of getting to the beach, I thought was pretty interesting. And But like right when the weird stuff starts to kick in, that's when it started to kind of lose me, because they also set up, because we got people here who are fairly intelligent, you could assume, based on their roles and lots in life, and they're able to piece together exactly pretty much how much time, or an average of how much time is actually passing. And they established a couple of rules early on about how this thing is working and how it's operating, to which they break constantly throughout the rest of the film. It's very inconsistent. The dialogue and the characters are not too great. The performances themselves are inconsistent. The premise, though, is good. And that's really what this film limps by on. I don't think this is a terrible film, and it's definitely not his worst film. And the film is definitely better than I thought it was going to be from the trailers. I thought the trailers were terrible, like laughably terrible. And that's why I was like, okay, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is either going to be just ridiculously bad, maybe it'll be good. He has some gems here and there, though it's been a long time since we've really had one. I'd say the last good movie of his that I really enjoyed was Split. I still haven't seen Glass, even though I really wanted to, but I've heard mixed things about that as well. But that being said, it has some promising elements. It's got some okay sequences. It has some really good body horror. There's some things in here that are fairly disturbing. I won't go into any detail as to what they are, but there's some really creative ways that they play with how time is passing in this, and how that affects certain actions and reactions and consequences of certain actions. And it's pretty interesting and really creative. Though that's just few and far between. And I feel like a lot of this film, there's just not a whole lot going on, and the characters are just nonstop talking for large chunks of this, and nothing really relevant is being said or found out or determined. The twist itself, for most, I feel like, is going to be not a huge payoff. It makes sense kind of in the end with what's going on, but I don't feel like it's going to be a satisfying payoff in the end for anybody that's watching around as to what's going on, why it's happening. You actually never know how this is happening, but you learn that there's something going on around the beach that I won't go into. But I just don't think that it was a satisfying conclusion either. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I'd probably give this a 5, like dead center. Like, I don't think it's like awful. I don't think it's terrible. There are some redeeming elements and moments in the film, but it's just the script, the direction, and the pacing that really throw this thing off and makes it hard to really get attached to any of the characters. I didn't feel emotionally attached to anybody in this film, and I felt like that was a little bit of a detriment to as well. I was more attached to the concept more than the execution, and maybe that's kind of what got me through it. So this is where I'm kind of in the middle of the road on this one. And I know like I'm very inconsistent myself on which things I kind of give a rating or whatever, but I feel like that's the best way to. Sometimes I just have to like describe where I'm at with it. And I feel like for this one, it's not terrible. It's definitely not great. It's just, I would not go out to the theater and watch this. I would 100%. I would not recommend anybody pay theater prices to go watch this movie. And I don't like saying that sometimes, but I just don't feel like it's going to be worth it for most people. I would say wait till this is on video or on streaming and check it out there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. There's not a lot I could talk about without going into any spoilers. And with M. Night Shyamalan, sometimes the most minor things end up being a spoiler for what may or may not come out of it. So I'm just going to keep my lips sealed on a lot of that. So guys, if you've seen it, I want to know your thoughts down below. So sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll carry on the conversation after the video. Shout out to our channel legends, Mandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, and Philly Vane. Thank you guys so much. If you want to talk about this film, other films, anime, video games, TV, whatever, come follow me on my socials or join our Discord. Links to all of those are in the description of this video. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you like this, I hope you stick around. If you're new, Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.